That's not it at all. Do less. Get down. Try less. Do it again. Pop up. Nope. Too slow. Do less. Pop up. Pop up. You're doing too much. Do less. Pop down. Pop up now. Stop. Get down. Get down there. Remember, don't do anything. Nothing. Pop up. Well, you got to do more than that because you're just laying. That looks like you're boogie boarding. Just do it. Feel it. Pop up. Yeah, that wasn't quite it, but we're gonna figure it out there. Let's go surfing. Come on.
They say that falling in love is wonderful. Wonderful. Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy bringing Spider-Man 3 to you this week, whipping that into your brain. Doing it on Thursday, originally planned Wednesday, obviously not too late, a day later than expected because Eric himself was at the theater seeing Manhattan Memories, Eric.
Hearts on fire, something. Sorry, I just came back from a movie theater where I saw the new Rocky IV Stallone cut. I was at the theater.
I'm not talking about the
I know,
the
but
movie
I'm just
theater.
where
I'm talking about trotting the boards.
Yes,
I'm talking about the stage.
Yes, I was at
the craft.
The actual theater last night. My first time. Not just pre-pandemic. I mean, it certainly was, but quite a while just because I don't go to theater regularly. But I did last night and it was really cool. Like it was one of those things where, you have these strange milestones as we, again, I hesitate to say coming out of the pandemic, it's very much still a current thing in our lives. But as we're doing things again, I can say that much. And so I was like, oh, wow, going to live theater.
If I went to the theater, first of all, I have reservations because I come from a theater family. You do too. Halvesies. My mom and dad are both from theater.
I go to one parent could care less about the theater, but one's all in.
But what if what he was watching was interesting? Would he then care about the theater?
Maybe.
Would he watch Blade the musical?
He'd watch Blade the musical, then he might be.
I think we'd all watch Blade the musical, frankly, right? So
I did see Hamilton with my dad. No,
Blade,
am I lying or did I saw Book of Mormon with my dad.
Yeah. It would be Blade Turn On the Light. What? If I went and saw anything like Manhattan Memories, and it opened with that horrible song, I would leave while loudly jeering. And with the moon
if you guys
above,
don't recognize the
wonderful.
name, Manhattan Memories is the fictional musical in.
What did the headline say? What did the review say? This memory deserves to be forgotten. Oh, I mean, if it was just it stinks with like
at least you weren't supposed to think this is the greatest thing I've seen.
Oh, so. It's awful. But obviously,
we'll talk.
Spider-Man 3 is in our main event today.
We'll talk.
We have the attitude, Eric. Sure. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody.
But she's walking down the stairs, Eric, and she opens with this awful trudge of a song. And like right after she sings the first line, there's an applause.
I know.
Like, where did that come from? Like,
there's a lot of conflicting messaging.
Some weird wrestler pop, like it's her entrance theme. All right.
My God.
My God.
Mary Jane.
It's Miss Manhattan Memory. Okay. First, we're going to get into some entertainment news here. I want to talk about the most entertaining of the entertainment news thus far, which is nothing is confirmed, but Variety reports that MGM is ramping up to remake Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal currently in talks to star, we assume, as the lead Dalton, unless it's a complete tweaking and bending of the original. Right. And director Doug Liman. I would
say Liman.
Yeah, I do too. When you recommended Go as your good thing to enjoy, I think I asked this already. Also circling the project. And if this comes to fruition, I think it'll be the most entertaining thing I'll see since Blade the Musical. Honestly.
Very possible. First of all, I do want to mention that there was a straight to video Roadhouse 2 in 2006 that starred another person whose name
was like Jonathan Skitch.
Yeah. And he played Dalton's son in that.
But I'm guessing, didn't he write and produce that or direct it too?
He did not.
I think he was like
he co-wrote it. He co-wrote it. I'm looking
there
at
we
it.
go.
Yeah,
there we go.
But I'm guessing that if Gyllenhaal wanted to play Dalton's son, they would unwrite that Roadhouse 2 might become uncanonized.
Wait, is this a remake or a legacy sequel? We don't know.
I'm just saying, like, whatever route they want to go.
Okay, for those who don't know, Roadhouse. What year was Roadhouse, Eric?
89, I believe.
Roadhouse is is a movie that some people will swear by as being a good movie. It is not, but it is an entertaining
movie.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. It's a superb, perfect movie.
It's pretty great.
It's a raucous actioner starring Patrick Swayze as a Zen master bouncer, like a nomad bouncer who goes around the country.
Well, he's like a bouncer mentor.
Yeah, but he goes and he basically whips bars into shape and like gets rid of like the bad elements who are working by. It's basically Bar Rescue. It's an entire TV show now is based on Roadhouse without the throat ripping. And he goes in there and he literally fires people and beats people up and catches which servers and bartenders are stealing from the till and all that stuff, and gets rid of the ugly elements from bars, as far as like those troublemakers out there who might be throwing glass bottles at poor blind Jeff Healey, the guitarist who has to sing behind a cage.
Yeah.
Because it's so dangerous. Anyway, I don't know. I'm excited about it, but what tone do we want from this Roadhouse, Eric? What are we looking for? Yeah, that's a tricky
one because it's been embraced mostly as sort of like a campy but great classic. I thought, I'd seen it before, but a couple years ago I went to a screening at the Egyptian here with much of the cast, Kelly Lynch, many others, and producers and creators. And
that's not the type of thing Sam Elliott shows up to, right?
I don't believe Sam Elliott was there, but it was a great time nonetheless.
But it's got great quotes like "Pain don't hurt," and I'll get enough sleep when I'm dead.
His character is such a funny, like philosophizing Tai Chi, like and his whole philosophy is like be nice until it's time not be nice. So it's like he's like a man of peace until he's a man of action.
But he comes to the story as if he's like a past warrior.
No, yeah,
because he's killed someone by ripping their throat out, which gets
and
paid
he's
off
like
in
a
the third
legend.
act.
He's like Dalton. Dalton is a legend.
He's like one named legend who rips throats. And the throat rip, by the way, inspiration for MacGruber.
Oh yeah.
And I remember the MST3K episode where they had the Patrick Swayze Christmas that was mostly based on Roadhouse, in which Santa can be our regular Saturday night thing.
Were you full-time at IGN the year that Chris Carl, our boss, gave everyone Roadhouse on DVD?
No, I must have been a year or two later.
Right, I think so. And then it's funny because I didn't watch it. I'd never seen it. I actually hadn't seen Roadhouse growing up.
It was. I'd seen it many a time.
Yeah, but I've now come to love it. So I guess I think this is just the way I'm made, and also you to some extent. I think too, Matt, is like I don't instantly like freak out when I hear something like this. I don't go, oh my god, they're ruining something great. First of all, because it's just like it's a funny, campy movie, but also because we have no idea what the approach to this would be. By the way, and I tend to like Doug Liman and Jake Gyllenhaal, so I'm not like those are terrible people who make things I hate.
Roadhouse is like if better actors and a better budget and a sense of actual competence of craft were given to something like Hot Ticket to Hawaii.
Right.
Like it's that type of movie. Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. Yeah,
but like it's like you could see this, right, Eric? You could see this movie being made horribly for much cheaper and
a much more, even though there is nudity in it, even more of a TNA version for sure. Yeah,
and like with worse acting and all that stuff. Okay.
This is a movie, by the way, where I'm 90% sure because Joel Silver produced it, and I think there's a young, like, because Kelly Lynch is the love interest, but then there's this younger girl who's kind of around. Maybe she's like the bad guy's girl or something. I just think she has a story that might involve, did Joel Silver have her get topless at her? Something that's like a classic Joel Silver, like, what you're saying fits, like, with the kind of movie it is, but it works. It definitely works.
It works. And it will be either super serious or silly, depending on how this remake goes.
It's very hard for me to imagine them going super serious with this, but who knows?
Let's see what else. And then we got it's been a lot of Disney news this week. In fact, tomorrow we record this on Thursday.
We're just missing what's going to be like a big glut, we assume, of
it's
Disney
a
stuff.
big Disney news tomorrow. It's going to fill the day.
But
we do know that Miss Marvel has been pushed from what was originally going to be the end of this year and then pushed to the beginning of next year, and now will become sort of midway through 2022.
Yeah.
Wait. Next year is 2022. What year is this, Eric? Jesus Christ. But so it's been pushed back like a quarter or two, right? Like,
yeah. It's interesting because, think about the fact that we saw the first Miss Marvel footage a year ago in December at that big Disney Investor Day when they announced a bunch of stuff. And originally when they first put out a schedule for this year, they had said Hawkeye and Miss Marvel would be like, Q4, end of the year.
Yeah, it was going to be this year. Yeah.
It didn't shock me though, because I had just been tweeting, because this came on the heels of the fact that Disney Plus, while still doing well, had like lost some subscribers this past quarter, which didn't shock me because right now Disney Plus is really like, gets so much buzz off these huge Marvel and Star Wars shows. And What If just was never going to be that, like the animated stuff. Same with the Bad Batch. Like it's I'm not saying it's not my judgment call on its quality. It's just for a certain sect of the audience, it's not going to equal the importance or weight of the live action stuff. And they didn't have a live action Star Wars or Marvel show in the past few months after Loki ended. So it didn't surprise me.
And What If is obviously, regardless of the stars who lent their voice to it from the actual MCU, it's animated and it's canon, but it's not canon, right? So it's completely separate from the MCU we've been watching in the not canon form. But it's also canon because it's part of the multiverse, and we just accept that this is all just different universes anyway. And it has its own. And of course, it wound up having
Doctor
its
Strange
own
2
story.
could still have. If they wanted to have Hallie Atwell show up in live action as Captain Carter, it could happen.
Yeah, they just did that with Star Wars, right? They just brought animated characters into the live action from canon animation. Okay, but and we're heading into also, we got Hawkeye, but then we're heading into Book of Boba Fett, which is not Mandalorian season 3, which would have boosted subscribers. Yeah,
but Boba Fett will probably still do that job. And before we knew Miss Marvel was being held, I was like, this doesn't, the fact their subscribers, they'd lost a few, didn't shock me, because I said, hey, like, they didn't have anything big since Loki. I think things are going to turn around very quickly because Hawkeye goes into Boba Fett. And then I had mentioned, well, Miss Marvel, I said, I don't think will push as much because Miss Marvel will have an innate issue of A, brand new character, and B, there will be a sect of the fan base who go, oh, it's about a teenage girl and probably about her teenage girl problems.
By the way, cool. That fan base already did that about the Avengers video game.
Of course. This isn't cool and badass like I want. But
they should make the Punisher a teenage girl.
Yes, they should. But that being said, I still said, oh, but next year, look, they've got they have Kenobi and Andor, and then they have She-Hulk, which is the most sort of another sort of like, direct connection with Mark Ruffalo is in it. So when I heard Miss Marvel was held, I thought this makes sense because I think they really want to go big on things with familiar characters. Because don't forget, all the live action MCU shows we got on Disney Plus this year were very familiar characters, and they have some coming up with new characters, but I think they'll probably want to lean into stuff that they know is a draw for a little bit.
And we wish we could tell you we knew what was coming at the beginning of next year, Disney Plus wise from the MCU front, but we won't know that till tomorrow. It's
right.
In the future
I
for
thought,
us
everyone assumed, myself included, that it was Boba Fett would end and Miss Marvel would begin. Now I'm guessing either Boba Fett ends and She-Hulk or Moon Knight, which are the two other shows that have wrapped, premiere, or maybe it just goes into Kenobi or something. Like maybe it's just another Star Wars show.
What do we know about Loki season 2?
We just know it's happening and being written, but they haven't. On the MCU show front, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight have all wrapped. Secret Invasion is filming, but they're so quiet and stealth. Who knows? Maybe it wrapped too, but I don't think so. So that's where we're at.
All right, we don't know what's happening, but guess what? By the time y'all listen to this, you'll know.
Probably.
Yeah. You'll know. Then we've got what's our other story? Oh, this is just a weird thing, specifically because we just brought up this set that the virtual set that the Mandalorian uses, and it was answered for us on Twitter, and I forget the name. What was it called?
I remember too, and I don't. I thank the person on Twitter whose name we're forgetting, but I also want to give thanks to Brian Linder, my fandom coworker, our former IGN coworker, who actually told me first. He must have listened to our podcast right after it dropped. So thank you for being a loyal listener, Brian, and a friend and colleague.
Well, loyal Linder is what they call him.
He slacked me the morning our last one went up. Say the term I was forgetting was the volume. Is like the term that they used for that.
That's such a weird name for a studio. It sounds like, I don't know, the volume. It sounds like a wrestler moniker gone wrong somehow. But yeah, so of all the things filming, there's people productions are scrambling to get into this volume because it's so cool. Yeah, but one thing that eked in is the new How I Met Your Father sequel series, which stars Hilary Duff, which they're using to replicate New York. When they're not in just on a set, but like any exteriors, they're using the volume to fake Manhattan and fake Manhattan memories even. This came with the release of like a cast photo on the quote unquote Brooklyn Bridge that was released today. That wasn't the Brooklyn Bridge because it was part of the virtual volume verse.
Two things here is one, I actually don't know the answer. They might have said at this point and I just missed it, but I am curious of How I Met Your Father is it's just going to be shot single camera style, or be like How I Met Your Mother, which was a what do they called it? They called it a hybrid show because it was shot like a multicam sitcom, but not, because it didn't have a studio audience, so that they could be more creative, and because they did so many like flash forwards and flashbacks and things that would really make it a shitty experience for an audience if they ever tried to do it. So instead they didn't use an audience, and it was set in New York, but it was just sitcom sets. I guess with the volume now, whether or not you want to like bring, record an audience later or laugh track it or not, you could just have it be set wherever. And yeah, it's like, of course, stuff like this will be used I say practically just for normal stuff. I always remember, and God, I just looked up what year this show was, and it was a long time ago, there was the show called Dirty Sexy Money that ran for 2 seasons from 2007.
Oh, was Peter Krause in that?
He might have been. Yes, he was. Yes. Fun show, kind of burnt out quickly, but Berlanti was involved in that. But I remember when I was working at IGN, and obviously the show was off the air by 2009, so it could be no later than 2009. Seeing a special effects reel for Dirty Sexy Money, and it was one of the first times I was surprised by a show like that, which was basically a nighttime soap about rich people shenanigans, how much they use green screen. And so it's like a behind the scenes thing showing all the scenes that were being green screened into places, and that they weren't standing on that street with that skyscraper in the background, all this stuff. And on a show where you just don't think is special effects heavy, it was. So when I hear How Much My Father is using the volume, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because
it was weird when like Green Goblin was flying in the background there.
Right. Oh, hey, well, I was going to say Disney owns How I Met Your Mother, which they do, but they'd have to get Sony's permission to use Green Goblin, but it's all complicated.
What if the father in How I Met Your Father is Norman Osborn?
That would be a big shocking twist. That's a good reveal for the end.
I like it. All right, let's move on to some messages here from our listeners. Before we do that, I just want to remind everyone that The Great season 2 kicks off at the end of next week, right before Thanksgiving week here in the States. It's on Hulu, and it's not just a shitty name. It's great, and I'm halfway through the season 2 screeners because I'll be reviewing it. But it's such a good show, man.
I haven't watched the screeners just because I haven't had time, and a lot of fun screeners have been coming in, or ones I just have to watch. So I haven't gotten to The Great, but I love The Great. I endorse The Great. Okay.
Let's see. This is a question that goes back to Spider-Man 2, which we talked about last week in our main event, which is Curtis writes in on Patreon. I've never been to New York, so I don't know, but isn't it odd that Otto runs the demonstration for his potentially world-changing fusion device in what looks like a regular commercial building in the city? Shouldn't that be at an Oscorp special facility of some sort? I don't know that it was a regular commercial building. Wasn't that his loft?
I felt like it was his private lab. Yeah, it's like
I felt like it was his big sciencey loft, like where
yeah, and they do have a line at the beginning of Spider-Man 2 where Harry's like, "I'm overseeing this division or this project." So I felt like Otto had probably earned getting to have his own little independent laboratory.
I mean, Harry was head of like special projects at Oscorp. Yeah, he was. So yeah, there's this crackpot who's like basically using his own space to build his stuff. Again, though, the bigger reveal is the fact that he has mind control arms.
Right.
It wasn't like an Oscorp sponsored thing. I think that answers why it didn't look more like a lab. I don't know, but yeah, I understand why it wouldn't be at Oscorp, Curtis. And then we've got Jared writes in, who we know as Quicksand Buddy over on Twitter. This is based on our Eternal spoiler cast that we just did. I've read through this already, so I don't feel like it spoils too much, but I don't think I'm going to read the entire thing.
Okay.
Jared. So, Eric, I encourage you to read the email online. But we asked people actually to write in and tell us what they thought of Eternals. So, Jared writes in, I saw Eternals on Sunday. I was planning to sit this one out because it looks so uninteresting, but the bad reviews made me curious. Okay, so this is a ticket. Ticket was bought because of the Rotten Tomato ratio. I wanted to be prepared to listen to your spoiler review too. In the end, it turned out to be the first Marvel movie in years that didn't slide off my brain folds hours after seeing it. And I say that having enjoyed Shang-Chi. I was surprised how much shooting on location made Eternals feel like it was taking place in a completely different universe. The visuals, more somber tone, and clunky exposition made it feel like a DCEU Snyderverse movie minus the morbidly depressing nihilism. I actually kind of admired it, even liked it, despite feeling baffled most of the runtime. It's the first MCU since Thor Ragnarok where I could feel the director trying to shuffle off the corporate chains a little bit. Then Jared wonders how, with everything that's happened in the MCU universe, how the average citizen of Earth is even able to get out of bed in the morning, given the blip and all the things, and the Chitauri invasion of New York, and now the end of this movie. But yeah, I don't know. It's the same problem they have in the comics, I guess.
Except the comics is way worse because it's unrelenting in the comics.
Yeah, it's every hero, because the MCU is still a small slice of the giant Marvel pie that you would get for the in the comic books. But yeah,
what do you think about just Spider-Man, who's so popular as a comic book character that sometimes he has like 4 simultaneous monthly comics that are telling different stories about things that are happening to him? It's like there's just, if you live in the Marvel universe, the comic book universe, you just are used to like just chaos and destruction on a daily basis.
I love chaos and destruction.
But Jared, I think I said something similar about, although I wouldn't say like Shang-Chi slipped away from me. Like I love Shang-Chi. But even though I mentioned, and again, I won't get into spoilers on this for people who haven't seen Eternals or listened to our spoiler cast, but I said on that Eternals is the most flawed of the movies we've seen so far of Phase 4, but it also has some moments that have really stuck with me and elements of it that have stuck with me more than others. So that's an interesting thing about it.
Mike in San Antonio writes in via email, and you can too at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. With Licorice Pizza coming to theaters soon, I realized I can't ever recall hearing any Paul Thomas Anderson takes in my time as a Fun fan. Do you guys enjoy PTA? And if so, can you name your favorite of his films? Eric and I both enjoy PTA. I know Eric especially enjoys PTA's use of the Valley in most or all of his movies. Maybe not Sydney. Not Sydney.
There Will Be Blood.
What's that?
Not There Will Be Blood.
Was that not the Valley?
And not what was the other Day-Lewis one he did?
The Master.
No, well, there was The Master.
That was Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, but what was the final performance of Daniel Day-Lewis?
Oh, Phantom Thread.
That was not set in the Valley.
Are you sure? Because the Phantom Thread was a series of record shops that were really prevalent in the 70s, right?
Yes.
Oh, it was a band. Have you heard the new Phantom Thread EP? But yeah, if we're talking about his big heavy hitters like Boogie Nights and Magnolia, and what Punch Drunk Love was in the Valley, I assume.
Yes, I believe it was.
And but yeah, I think the back-to-back Boogie Nights and Magnolia, I think resonate the most for me, Mike, in San Antonio, though I really do love and admire There Will Be Blood. You know, it's beautiful and brutal, that movie.
Yeah.
And also, was it the first time that he kind of really stepped away from the Valley stuff? Was that movie?
Might have been, yeah.
It was the most different thing we'd ever seen him do up until that point, I think.
Yeah, I love PTA. I think he's great. Boogie Nights was, like most people, what introduced me to him. Although I would later on go back and watch Hard 8 and love it. Which is his Vegas movie with Philip Baker Hall, John C. Reilly, and Gwyneth Paltrow, and Samuel L. Jackson's in that too. But I'm sorry, it's not. It's Sparks, Nevada. It's because that's like low rent. But yeah, Boogie Nights was like one of those things that just grabbed me. And the joke that's true is like he's the Scorsese of the Valley because he does keep setting movies here. And it is such a the Valley is a funny place to grow up because it's in Los Angeles, but it's seen as like the innocuous, like low rent side of LA, and so that this very talented filmmaker has chosen to be like embrace it so much.
So he romanticizes it and feeds into the nostalgia of it because it's usually these movies, like especially Boogie Nights, but like and then now with Licorice Pizza coming out, another
1970s one too. Yeah.
So the fun fan theory about Sydney, right? In Hard 8 being the same Philip Baker Hall character as Midnight Run, who Philip Baker Hall has a small role in Midnight Run as a gangster as part of Dennis Farina's crew named Sydney. And anyway, people like to pretend that it's the same Sydney who winds up in Hard 8.
Interesting. But we're pro PTA, and I'm dying to see Licorice Pizza, and so many people on my timeline are seeing it, including tonight. There was another screening of it tonight, and I haven't gotten an invite, and I'm trying to go to see this damn movie. So
I have not seen Inherent Vice. Have you seen that, Eric?
No, it's funny. I haven't seen that one either.
All right. Well, I guess we don't like PTA. I think we hate him, actually.
I guess we hate him, yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for write-ins. Oh, very quickly, Russ from Wisconsin writes in, this is from about a week ago. I think it got buried. It appears you two still, for the most part, enjoy Saturday Night Live. However, quite a few people I follow on Twitter seem to attack it or think its popularity is ironic or something along those lines. Maybe they just aren't happy with it not being as politically aggressive as they want. What are your thoughts on those haters? Ratings are down a bit, but once you factor in YouTube views and whatever Peacock and Hulu brings in, it seems quite relevant. And enjoyed by many people. Russ, SNL has been a part of our lives. I'm talking for Eric and myself, our entire lives.
Right. But that goes for everyone who listens, though, right? Like,
unless they're older than us.
Yeah.
Unless they're older than us, they know a time. It's almost like fewer and fewer people now have lived a life without The Simpsons.
Right.
It's just the way it goes. So SNL has just been a mainstay in our life. You can tell me ratings are down, but unless anyone's counter programming something that's actively beating Saturday Night Live, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And we'll continue to just churn it out. And as a sketch show, it's its own beast. The grind that they have to do, and the creative, the way that they have to actually sort of manipulate that creative process for that show is absolutely mind-bending, because it's not done like other TV shows. I don't know. People have been hating. Here's the other thing. People have been hating before the internet. People have been hating on Saturday Night Live just from a rotating cast member standpoint.
At least since 1980. Yeah.
At least since they actually actively, Chevy only was there for 1 year.
Right.
But once the cast got a full turnover going into the 1980 season and the classic SNL OGs were gone, the show's been taking heat ever since, because they're not as funny as the previous cast.
With some proclaiming it's dead and it's over. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next cast, they're not as funny. Well, I think the most maligned cast, the two, were the early 80s and I should say mid 90s. There was that one particular season where they brought in some active names like Michael McKean and Janine Garofalo and Chris Elliott. Yeah. And they lasted, I think, a season, and it was really bad. But yeah, we've suffered the worst of the SNL seasons, and it's just going to keep on going. Right.
Yeah, it's everything you said about everything that can be said about SNL has been said. It's still going. It still makes me laugh several times a year. I think any it's just direct now, nothing's funny, the cast sucks, is always silly. There are always talented people there. It's always hit or miss. It's always been hit or miss. Yes, of course, there's times where it's like, oh wow, their success rate for sketches might be 60 to 70% versus times when it's 30%. But that will just happen. That'll ebb and flow.
They were rocking the Netflix quality versus content. They were doing that algorithm way before Netflix, which is we have 200 sketches a year. 20 of them will be hilarious.
Right.
It's just,
and the rest you're just sitting through. Yeah. And yes, of course, now people can just watch individual sketches and things can go viral so easy. And you have something pretty amazing like Cecily Strong's Weekend Update bit with the clown who got an abortion from a week or two ago, which was
thank you for reminding me. I never clicked on it, even though I saw so many people saying it was
it's great, but it's also poignant and meaningful. And
again, I don't want to watch it then.
Okay, yeah, but it's well, guess what? Saturday Night Live can do that, and it's not going to do it every week, but it can still do things to get attention, great things, viral things all the time. And it will always have its ebb and flows, but I also think it'll be with us forever. Not forever. We will all die. It will die too one day, but it's just an institution at this point.
Do I really want? I don't know. Now I have the weird feelings about SNL outliving me, Eric.
Look, we've already.
I would like to see its end before
I know, but Matt, we talked about this. We thought we could see the end of Star Wars before we died. Nope. We're never going to see the end of the MCU before we die.
I know. We've come to terms with the fact that we will both die missing something really cool.
Right, phase something is coming.
It's going to be, but SNL though, Eric, I'm not looking forward to SNL. SNL could end, and I would be okay with it.
Right.
So that's why I'm fine with the MCU continuing on after me. I'm fine with them rebooting Harry Potter or doing whatever the fuck they want. SNL though, I would like it to come to a close before I come.
That's your request.
That's my request. And all right. Let's see. Let's talk about our good things to enjoy. Next week is the start of a new, only 2 movie franchise. The next Spider-Man on the docket is The Amazing Spider-Man, which you can see kind of the same way we see all of these right now.
Yeah.
Which is the DirecTV subscription and over on the Turner apps, TNT, TBS, True TV. Or rent it, or you already own it, or something like that. or ask the old man on the park bench to recite it for you.
I mean, you said a 2-movie franchise, but of course, it's all part of the same Spider-Man franchise.
Well, now it's part of the larger MCU.
So now it's MCU-ized.
But previous to No Way Home, it was just a trilogy that never was.
Right. It was the Timothy Dalton experience.
And but yeah, now it's The Amazing Spider-Man is next week, and Spider-Man 3 is coming right up. But let's talk about our good things to enjoy this week, Eric. First up, since we're talking about Spider-Man, why don't you do yours?
Because we're doing these movies. I talk about how much I love this show all the time. I'm sure I've mentioned it. If not on this podcast, certainly it would have come up at some point. We enjoy wrestling. I know it came up on Channel Surfing because Channel Surfing coexisted with this show many years ago. But the Spectacular Spider-Man, the animated series of Spectacular Spider-Man, which is, the animated series that ran, I think that launched in 2008. Because it kind of launched on the heels of Spider-Man 3, which is the other reason I thought I'd bring it up this week, because it has no continuity ties to any of the movies, but you're coming out of the Raimi movies, and there's definitely it reflects that, but it also reflects the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, but it also reflects the original comics. It was definitely kind of taking everything Spider-Man and filtering it and doing it in such a great way. And I'm not the only one who would say this, but I would personally call Spectacular Spider-Man what Batman the Animated Series is to Batman, as far as the perfect animated version that some might argue, and sometimes I would say, is just the best version of Spider-Man outside the comic books. Only lasted for 2 seasons, which sucks.
And there was a weird reasoning and the way it got canceled was
it was very
bad and also interesting, but
because it got canceled not because Disney bought Marvel, although it happened very close to that, but because there was some behind the scenes stuff with Sony getting some additional rights for the movies or something that they were getting more of with the movies that led them to give up the TV rights for half-hour versions, it turns out. And so Marvel Disney got back the Spider-Man rights fully, which unfortunately cut this show off after only 2 seasons. But the 2 seasons we got are great. The creator, Greg Weisman, is best known at this point. Well, Gargoyles will always be the thing that he's beloved for as a cult thing, which now a lot of people have discovered on Disney Plus or rediscovered. Young Justice is his current show, which of course got the miraculous coming back years later that people wish Spectacular Spider-Man could get. Probably never will happen because there's too many rights complications. I just love this version of Spider-Man as a Spider-Man fan since I was a kid. This definitely sort of captures a perfect sort of version of Spider-Man. And I love how they incorporate through all the previous versions and the nods to it. Even when they do Venom, and his costume is inspired by the movie costume, which, took the regular Spider-Man costume and just switched the colors, which was not like the black costume in the comic books. But if you watch the animated series, they slowly start to morph it over time and episodes into more traditional version. They just did a lot of fun, clever stuff. They got to they were doing Gargoyles and Young Justice. He was telling serialized stuff. And so there was a lot of cool ongoing storylines. Each season, we only got 2, but they were supposed to take place in kind of 1 season or semester of Peter's life. And you kind of get a nice passage of time. The second season takes place over winter and has a different vibe to it. And the villains were great. They really made use of his rogues gallery in really cool ways. And I'm sad we didn't get more. I used to do weekly interviews with Greg Weisman for season 2, and he told me so many cool things about things they were planning that never happened. But what we got is great, and I've revisited it many times.
I agree with this, and also, of course, the kick-ass theme song.
Great theme song. Yes, yes.
I own these on Vudu. I also own the DVDs. My middle child is still a huge fan of Spectacular Spider-Man. My middle child got short-sheeted with Spider-Man quite a bit. So not only was Spectacular Spider-Man canceled, but also my middle child's favorite Spider-Man is Amazing Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Oh, that sucks.
They both got kneecapped. And okay, so so I own physical copies of this and digital copies of this.
Same here. I have the Blu-ray and I have the digital. If you want to see this show, You can buy it on Vudu. It's funny. Some services only have season 1, like Apple, but both seasons are on Vudu. Both seasons are on Amazon. It's pricey. You know, I understand for like one purchase because it's like 22 episodes, $22 each for each season. Although Vudu often, and when I bought it on Vudu, it was like a sale for like $5 each. So it seems like once or twice a year that happens. I did check on Amazon. I was curious, and you can buy the complete series DVD for just $16.40. It's on sale for like a dramatic like cutoff right, discount right now.
I know, like back when
if you have a player to play it on.
Back when more people were actively shopping on Amazon for like during the holidays for DVD discounts, like this was one that would regularly pop up as something that was cheap and cool.
Yep.
All right, my pick this week is unfortunately not available to stream anywhere, but as Eric put on our Google Doc, you can buy the DVD for $4.99.
Also on sale on Amazon right now.
Also on Amazon. So I apologize that it's not readily available on any of the handy dandy streaming services you may have a subscription to, but I just want to put it in your heads then. If it ever crosses your path, I think it's worth checking out. This is an 80s action movie that doesn't get talked a lot about in thinking back to that decade and the cool action movies of the time. It's called Shoot to Kill. Wikipedia has told me that outside of North America it was known as Deadly Pursuit, which actually I think is a more apt title than Shoot to Kill. But it is a action movie from Roger Spottiswoode, who has done some sort of unremarkable things, including an unremarkable James Bond movie that completely wasted Michelle Yeoh called Tomorrow Never Dies, and an unremarkable.
God, he has such a crazy.
His resume is, but I think his most famous things would be Tomorrow Never Dies and The Sixth Day, and then maybe his first movie Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis.
You're leaving out Turner
and then Turner and Hooch, which just got a legacy sequel series on Disney Plus,
right,
starring Josh Peck. And then I saw Air America with Robert Downey Jr. and Mel Gibson in the theater, I believe.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I think I did too, actually. Now that you're saying that, I think I did too.
I just would see everything at a certain point, no matter what it was. So Shoot to Kill stars Tom Berenger. Now, here's the thing. At the time I saw this, I didn't know who Sidney Poitier was. I didn't know his legacy as an actor. I did know that it was a big deal he was in a movie. And it turns out it's because this was his first film role in 10 years. He'd been away from the screen for a decade. And so when the ads for this movie were like, Sidney Poitier's back, I'm like, who? It's like Star-Lord. Who? Tom Berenger. I don't even know if I knew who Tom Berenger was because I don't think I saw Platoon before 88. I think I saw that on video later. Mm-hmm. And then his other movies, I didn't see like Eddie and the Cruisers and other things he had done. So I'm pretty sure the only person I knew in this movie was Kirstie Alley at the time because of Cheers or Star Trek 3. So this movie also has Richard Mazer, who we just saw in both My Girl movies, Clancy Brown, who you can see in everything under the sun, including hear his voice on a lot of animation, including Mr. Krabs and Lex Luthor. And he's just now, he's going to be on Dexter New Blood. Mm-hmm. And so basically the premise is Sidney Poitier is an FBI agent chasing a killer. And the killer is trying to leave America and go into Canada and is doing it and is crossing the border between Washington and British Columbia, and it goes basically into the mountains, into the wild. And all the FBI agent knows is that this person has killed someone and is and now taken their identity as part of a mountain expedition tour hike, that lasts several days. That's
by the way, I've never seen this movie, so this is all new information. I know it exists. But
so basically, he knows that the killer's out there trying to get away. Kirstie Alley has taken a bunch of mountain climbers up into the wooded mountains for like a nature adventure because she runs these tours, right? We don't know who the killer is of this group. So there's a little mini mystery going on too. And then so Sidney Poitier is like a city mouse FBI agent who has to team with Tom Berenger, who's like a rugged woodsman and doesn't think the FBI agent can hack it out in the woods because it's also cold and snowy and stuff. So he has to team up with the nature dude and go into the woods to find the killer and like go after it before. And also Kirstie Alley is Tom Berenger's girlfriend. So like the FBI agent tells him, hey, there's a killer with your girlfriend out there. And so it's all that. And so it's, Sidney Poitier having to deal with like the cruel and great outdoors, both learn things from each other. This was a very frequent rental for me as well. So as we talk about things we watched over and over again decades ago, but this was one for me. But I do realize that, so when you say you don't know anything about it, I'm not surprised because like I said, it's not in a lot of conversations about movies. No. So I will say that it currently holds 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is still a rare thing. I don't know how many reviews that. I think they need 20 reviews. How many do they need?
Right. And of course, it's weird because, you get movies that get modern reviews for movies from decades ago that can change the score. But if you're a movie like Shoot to Kill that's so under the radar, you're not going to get any of the new reviews being added by like big critics.
Okay, so it only has, for the time, again, remember, everyone didn't used to always be a critic. So back in 88, this got 18 reviews. So there you go. Oh no, 14 reviews only. But Roger Ebert was one of them, and he liked it. And
I remember the video box. And you're making me want to check it out.
All right, Shoot to Kill. All right, so let's move on to Spider-Man 3, aka Thwip to Kill. And Peter Parker is mad.
At some point, I'm going to ask you, Matt, probably to vamp for 10 to 15 seconds, because at some point, I'm going to have to close the door to get yelling cats out because Trish is out of town. So I didn't close the door because they'd be screaming the whole time. But you know who doesn't understand or care about daylight savings is cats. So they'll be yelling for food very soon.
All right.
Let's talk Spider-Man 3.
All right. So can they wait 2 hours?
This movie's a mess.
Oh my God, Eric. This movie is it's probably been since the year it came out that
I've seen it more recently. I feel like I watched it when the Garfield movies came out, maybe.
Why?
Oh yeah, I just was like, I'll rewatch the Raimi movies, including the one
Oh God, Eric. I was like, why would you watch Garfield movies? We just talked about Garfield last week. Chris Pratt.
I like to watch the Garfield.
Why are you watching A Tale of Two Kitties?
Spider-Man 3. There's a thematic connection between Tale of Two Kitties and Spider-Man 3.
Oh my God.
Manhattan Memories is in both.
I would watch Manhattan Memories before Tale of Two Kitties. Okay. Maybe. So there's so much bad stuff going on in this movie. And I feel like this movie feels like Seed of Chucky for me, which is if they shaved off 3 of the things they were trying to do and just stuck with a couple of the things they wanted to do, it could have worked out. And I think that's the narrative that sort of persists for this movie, is that it was a simpler story at one point. Too many ingredients got added to the stew, too many characters, too many things that couldn't fit at one point. So the original writer was trying to make it into 2 scripts. But that also doesn't take away some of the truly bad scenes from this movie. Now, I will also preface this by saying that none of us had any reason to think this movie was going to be terrible. We'd come off of Spite. We were on the high, even though this movie took an extra year. What was it? 3 years later?
Yeah, it took a more traditional at the time 3 years. Yes.
We were still, we maybe weren't riding as high on the wave of Spider-Man 2 because it was a little while longer, but we were coming off of Spider-Man 2, which at that point was still hailed as the best superhero movie of all time. We had gotten to see a sneak peek clip of the church bell tower scene and Eddie Brock praying. Was that at a Comic-Con? I can't remember where that scene came from. Yeah. And everyone, you could hear the crowd cheering and everyone, it looked really cool. It's always still funny to me, even though it's taken from the comics that Eddie Brock is literally praying for God to kill someone.
Right.
But so we were like, yes, this is cool. We always, even coming off of something like, the Batman movies following the first one, where they just kept, it became like usually a dual villain scenario for the next 3 movies, Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face, et cetera, et cetera. We were used to that, but not from Spider-Man so far. So far, And so we went from one villain, and now we had three. We went to we didn't just do two, we got three here with an asterisk next to Goblin Jr.'s entry. So we had the Venom problem with this, which is that Venom is sort of shoehorned in and comes in during the last 20 minutes of the movie, though the posters and the crux of this movie is Peter and the symbiote, and it turning him into bad Spider-Man, right, of sorts. And with this and the second movie, we basically are getting the Superman progression of loses powers, and then in the third movie, bad doppelganger version of himself.
Right.
But then we also have MJ and Peter both being absolutely insufferable and awful. Everyone's a jackass in this movie. And so we had these characters, and somehow the decision was made to take characters that we were rooting for and enjoyed and twist them into a trio of unlikable people for this movie. And to the point where it really hurts the movie.
Yeah, you're not rooting for them. It's really strange because we talked about sort of like, yes, Raimi has this heightened thing, and there were sort of like, there were schmaltzy, corny things in both 1 and 2, but it still worked overall. You might like laugh a little bit about a specific moment, but you still were invested in the characters, you bought into them, you liked the world, you were into it. And this one, it just doesn't work, and it all feels off. And the characters, you can't even actively root for them because what they're doing right from the beginning is just annoying. And
they went from like us cheering when she shows up in his doorstep at the end of Spider-Man 2 in her wedding dress, and then the go get him tiger, and it's like, yeah, to like, I instantly don't like them as a couple the first minutes I've seen of this movie. And maybe it's that song, like just the Manhattan Memory song.
Well, it certainly is.
Peter sitting in the first row,
beginning, right?
Peter sitting in the first row talking during the performance already annoys me as somebody who doesn't like people talking during anything.
Another thing that huge red flag for me very early, because yes, like I remember when this movie opened, like MJ got a lot of flack because she's so like, this is about me, Peter, and like she's so sort of single-minded in her problems. But very quickly, I had a huge issue with Peter in this movie beyond everything you're mentioning, which is when Mary Jane says to him right at the beginning, something about what's going on with you and Harry, and he says it's complicated, and I realized he hasn't fucking told her.
No.
And now that she knows that he's Spider-Man, he hasn't explained the deal with Harry.
Here's the other thing.
Hell, man.
She knows he's Spider-Man. Wouldn't he have told her that Norman was the Green Goblin?
Right.
Wouldn't he explain to her the misunderstanding between her and Harry? And also at that point, if she knows, maybe it's even safer for him to actually come clean and tell, like Harry already knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is like one of those, and this isn't just this movie. It's a problem with movies and TV shows when people have a misunderstanding that they cannot clear up because the plot isn't ready for them to do so yet. They won't just say the thing. They won't just be like, Harry, your dad was a villain. He was the Green Goblin. He was murdering people. He kidnapped Mary Jane. He won't just say that. He's just like, Harry, you and I got to talk. Harry, let me explain. No, Harry, there's no way I can possibly talk to you while you're walking away because I have a word limit in my dialogue that prevents me from doing so. Like, I can't do it.
And what's so stupid is that he does tell Harry when Harry attacks him about 15, 20 minutes into this movie. Then he says to him what actually happened.
It's ridiculous.
While they're having this fight, which will only be the first fight, again, because this movie's juggling way too much. So
there has to be 2 fights with Goblin Jr. and Sandman before we get to the final fight.
Right. And but also it's like, we go, like I talked about the fact that there was so much excitement. First of all, Spider-Man 2 was beloved. Second of all, if it had a cliffhanger, the cliffhanger was Harry finding his dad's goblin stuff and finding out the truth, and like, oh shit, okay, this is what comic book fans have been waiting for Harry to become the Goblin. This is cool. And so but then this movie has so many other things it's trying to accomplish that Harry has to like attack him and kind of be taken out with this amnesia storyline in the first 20 minutes.
So
it's like
in the first 5 to 10 minutes of this movie, we get Harry taking the super soldier gas and getting ready. So we got Goblin, we get the symbiote landing in Central Park, and we get Sandman on the run. And if you look back to Spider-Man 2, Spider would still be trying to deliver pizzas in the time frame that this movie introduces 3 villains. He's still yelling with Mr. Aziz about keeping his job with Joe's Pizza. The other thing is, and it's so weird that this is true, and it's true to the point where it also makes, and when we do the Scream movies, we'll talk about Scream 3. Randy's rules for trilogies hold true for this movie as well, which is, what does he say? He's like, forget all you know, go back to the beginning. There's some part you're going to
find out that, what you
find out
was
something
wrong.
that was wrong the entire time.
Right.
And ultimately that turns out to be true for Scream 3 and makes it one of the weakest, or if not the weakest Scream movie.
I think it's most people would choose that as the weakest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's also doesn't work here either. Like, so it helps. It's not the sole contributing factor, but it helps this movie also stand as the weakest of this trilogy.
Why are we getting more information on Uncle Ben's death at this point?
Why go? I'm one of my huge pet peeves in any serialized storytelling is the reveal of something that negates past feelings you have about something, that makes something different upon a rewatch for you because you know it's not true.
Right.
I hate retroactive negating of stuff like that. And that's essentially what I don't even think the Scream 3 twist negates things. I think it adds to it, not in a good way. This negates stuff and makes the entire stuff that we felt in the first movie about Uncle Ben's murder. And this was Raimi. He wanted to make things less black and white. He wanted to make it a story about forgiveness. He the Sandman stuff was his, and this is what he wanted to do. He also had an idea to add Vulture to this, and Ben Kingsley was in talks at some point. But
is that for this one? Oh, because Malkovich was going to play Vulture in the fourth one. Yeah.
And so, it does the whole thing with Kane Marco here being the one to quote unquote accidentally shoot Uncle Ben, or he slaps.
You mean Flint Marco?
Sorry, not Kane Marco. It's Juggernaut. Remember when Kane Marco crushed Uncle Ben in his arms?
That was a twist.
And he's like, "I'm Juggernaut, bitch." So
I'm Juggernaut, Uncle bitch.
Uncle bitch. But they so effectively used Ben, by the way, who's a knockout in his swimsuit. Uncle Ben. Thanks for that one, Aunt May. They used Ben so well in the first movie, and then they brought him back for that really poignant mental scene, inside Peter's mind when he was sort of giving up Spider-Man briefly. That worked really well. And then in this one, it's I don't know, all to make a sympathetic Sandman who I swear, just like Mr. Freeze, with the dying relative. This case, it's Flint Marco's daughter, who is quote unquote sick and needs quote unquote medicine. We don't know. Does she have McGregor syndrome? We don't know what it is. It's something that he thinks he can cure because he's like, I can get you healthy again. I promise you'll be healthy again. So it's not just treatment. But yeah, Sandman, I'll say, if we're looking for things that are actually good about this movie, I have no problem with Thomas Hayden Church, who I just recommended in a movie called Demon Knight. And we know from the long-running sitcom Wings, he's good as Sandman. The Sandman effects are really good.
When the
not
movie
just for the era, but when the movie era was really...
When the movie opened, everyone, and this movie was instantly divisive, but the sequence, the birth of the Sandman sequence, got a lot of acclaim, and I think it still holds up as a really cool scene, him trying to make his hand come together and try to pick up stuff. It's a really cool sequence,
but also the fight stuff, when he punches the police cars with it, he becomes big, and even the monster at the end it's silly, but it still looks good. But yeah, so that element also does not work in this movie. So you've got a whole bunch of different things that don't work even on their own, even if you shave things. don't work. And then we combine them, it's just recipe for disaster. Okay.
You have three villains, and here's the thing. As I got older, because I think when there was a time when there was a very reactionary, like, yeah, all these comic book movies are making a mistake with two villains or more, or more. It should only be one villain. Otherwise it's muddled or a mess. And as I got older, I realized that's not true. It's really just, can you make it feel cohesive and work? And Spider-Man 3 is the opposite of that, because everyone has very different storylines that they try. It's so messy that by the end they have like so little time left that they have Venom and Sandman meet and be like, let's team up because we have to. But you watch this movie, it's a very known fact that Raimi was basically forced to use Venom when he didn't want to. Like Venom's popularity, which clearly Sony was right about given the Venom movies. Sony really wanted Venom in it. Raimi didn't want to, but he did it. So you got one villain he doesn't even want to have in the movie. But unfortunately, with the new Goblin thing, that doesn't feel like, it feels like he lost interest by 3, or certainly the way it comes off, because that should be much more of the movie, but it's not. Sandman is the only one who feels like he's like invested in, even though it's still not, you and I both agree that it's like the Uncle Ben thing is still not the right tactic, but at least Sandman feels like a fully, fleshed out character. Hayden Church giving good performance. I like that they at least were trying to evoke, in the comic book, Sandman kind of famously got redemption of Spider-Man's early villains who were just like criminal bad guys. As the years went on, they decided to make him like, what if a supervillain was like, why am I a supervillain? And he started to turn good. So I understand that they wanted to evoke that in a different, but tie it to their lore. I don't like how they did that, but at least Sandman feels like, that Raimi's invested in it in a bigger way.
And then we've got Danny Elfman not coming back for this movie because apparently he and Raimi had a huge falling out after Spider-Man 2, which Elfman said was a miserable experience.
Elfman has had,
but now they're back.
Mysterious temporary falling outs with his two main collaborators. I mean, no one will be a bigger collaborator than Burton, of course, who he's done every single Burton movie except for Ed Wood, because that was the year of their giant falling out that we've never gotten details on. Raimi and him have now done about 5 movies together, and something happened here. They mended fences by Oz, which they did together. Now they're doing Doctor Strange. So I always want to know, like, obviously, lifelong huge fan of Elfman, but since it's happened twice, I'm like, Danny, do you have an issue where you get really
I'm
mad?
not with them. I'm not like, oh no, it's not like the way I feel about Tom Hanks and Henry Winkler hating each other, or like Jon Favreau and Will Ferrell hating each other. Like people we think are like fun and cool, nice guys, like be like, what? These are like the Hollywood niceys. Where it's like Elfman and Raimi, I'm sure are very particular and very peculiar, and I'm sure ruffle feathers and rub people the wrong way.
I'm glad they mended fences.
Tobey Maguire after this movie has a very sporadic resume. So I don't know. I feel like, with the Spider-Man money, also, I think he married rich. He was rich and he married someone rich. And I think I think the biggest film he was in after this was Great Gatsby. And then he's been in like other things.
It's just weird because before and even during, he was doing a lot more versus since. So I talked about the beginning of this movie. Peter seeing MJ in this awful production called Manhattan Memories. It stinks. I guess opening night, right? She stinks.
Well, yeah. I don't think she was the problem. I think we've clearly established that the opening of that, whatever that story is supposed to be with that song, I don't think whoever Mary Jane Rottencrotch or whoever it is that like is following her up, like what was the name of the name that they like plaster over her name as she's fired, like Audrey something?
I don't know. But I will say this, that here a big rant I have about this movie, just a mini rant. There's really many problems. Is this is way worse to me. I know that there are people who Back to the Future 2, there's always going to be people who are like, hey, where did Marty's whole issue with chicken come from? We never heard that in the first movie.
That bugs me too, but yeah.
It bugs me a tiny bit, but I'm mostly like, well, no one called him chicken in the first movie, so we didn't have to hear about it. I am so bothered by the fact that this movie makes it sound like Mary Jane has always had a big love of singing. like that she literally says to Peter, I'd like to sing on stage for the rest of my life. And I'm like, the first two movies, she wants to be an actress. She has an aspiring acting career, but the singing part was never part of it. And in this movie, it's like very front and center, to the point that after she like her acting career is over and now she's working as a waitress. Is she
fired by WWE?
I know, right?
Like she immediately to the soup kitchen line or something like that.
I know, because things were going so well with her in the last movie with the modeling and the acting.
Like, she has an agent. The guy said so. So like, what's he doing for
her? Right. But now she's like, she has to sing at this restaurant. So I just was like, this does not match the other two movies, that suddenly it's like she's like a songbird first and foremost. I guess I do like that literally it's supposed to be she's not great, because Kristen Dunst is not a great singer, and I think she's even talked about that in interviews, that she's like I don't want to put out an album.
They say that falling in love is wonderful.
Multiple movies had her sing. She's a very good actress, but she's like, I don't want to have an album out. And so it's just so strange that this movie makes this decision that Mary Jane wants to be a singer.
At least by the end of the movie, when she's kidnapped again, they identify her as Broadway star Mary Jane Watson.
Right.
Maybe that'll get her a new role after this.
Yeah.
Okay. I have so much I want to say about this, but I totally agree with you. The fact that they don't tell each other anything, from big to small, right? Because as a part of this movie, she doesn't even tell Peter she was fired. She doesn't tell him. He doesn't. She also doesn't just come out flat and tell him. Why does she break up with Peter? Peter would know. Why doesn't she just say, Harry threatened me? You're Spider-Man. Go do something. Like, why? I don't understand why she's breaking. Did he threaten to kill Aunt May? Like, why does she think that he doesn't know that Harry is Goblin Jr.? Like, again, they're not communicating about anything. It doesn't make any sense. This movie also, so taking place, shooting 2006, airing 2007. Smartphones weren't still a huge thing, but cell phones were. But this movie still has a thing where people come over to talk for 30 seconds and then leave instead of texting or calling or something like that. It took a long time for movies and TV shows to catch up with technology in that regard. But Peter and MJ in this movie, and this speaks to their lack of communication and the fact that they don't share everything, even though they shared the biggest thing in the last movie, which is like, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Is the fact that like, I don't care if they're laying on a web in Central Park and she's like, I wish you were in the front row forever. They don't feel like they're at all ready to get married. At least he admits as much at the end of the movie, but he only admits as much because he says, I can't put, like, Aunt May again with the horrible advice. It's like, you have to always put your wife's needs first. You know, that's way unhealthy. Like, that's not healthy either.
So much pressure to give her a memorable proposal. Jesus, May. Like,
no, but also like, again, with the Henry Jackson thing, just telling Peter to squash down all of his dreams and needs and emotions. You know, it's like a man has to put his wife before him. I'm like, that's awful. Isn't there like a partnership involved? Like, why can't they be there for each other's needs? And like, I would not go to Aunt May for anything. But yeah, they just don't feel ready. Again, they still also, and this is a Raimi thing, feel completely chaste. Like, do I think, like, if I really had to analyze this movie, like, that Peter and Mary Jane are a couple having regular sex, does not feel that way. And again, Raimi has an antiquated, old-timey approach to things, to the point where even like Flint Marko has a locket with his kid's picture in it.
Right.
Like, no one was carrying around lockets with their kid's picture in it in 2007.
A black and white picture.
Yeah. It wasn't even color film. But yeah. And so when he's like, I'm going to propose to her, I don't even need to know what's coming to be like, no, no one's ready for any of this. And then following this up immediately is Mary Jane's bad reviews. And yes, Peter was like trying to like express his opinions through the prism of himself. And I see the flaws in that, as far as like, quote unquote, making it about him. But also, two things. Mary Jane has chosen to be an actress. she's done pretty well for herself in like what, a year and a half of going. She went from serving burgers at a diner and getting yelled at by her boss to a modeling career, and then a play, and now a musical where she opens the
on
show.
Broadway. Yeah.
And doesn't have to, he's just basically being like, you need to have thicker skin. And he does have he's like, basically he's been hated by the entire city.
Right.
Not like a few critics in newspapers. All critics in newspapers have hated him. Even like the one guy who's just like, I don't like him, he stinks. Like, why? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, back a doodle, like whatever he said. And so, yeah, maybe he can from his own experience be like, hey, they don't matter. Don't listen to that noise. Fuck the haters, et cetera, et cetera. Right. I don't know what she wants to hear from him at that point. Like,
yeah.
Now,
well, again, they're both insufferable.
They're both terrible. Now, at the French dinner, he was being an asshat. Like, then it gets exacerbated, and he starts being like, then he starts getting high off his own fumes, and to the point where he's literally kissing other women with, their kiss, and then deciding it's okay to do that, and then the next day propose to her. Like,
right. Because this movie, we kind of skipped over the fact that this movie begins with Spider-Man more publicly beloved than ever, and Peter kind of riding the high.
Oh God! And they have a Spider-Man parade, a Spider-Man appreciation parade. Yeah.
Right.
By
the way, it makes zero sense that Gwen. We'll talk about Gwen Stacy being in this movie, but that Gwen asked Peter for a picture from when they had that kiss, given how many pictures there would be available of that. Like, it was a very public moment that she would not need to search for photography of.
They're all being genuine jerk-offs in this movie. And then Gwen Stacy has a modeling shoot for no reason. It doesn't come into play in any other instance in this movie. She's just a student in his class, Dr. Connor's class. And then she's also a model, and she's also James Cromwell's daughter, the Captain Stacy's daughter. James Cromwell, by the way, has been the exact same age since Babe.
100%. I'd say, well, yeah, maybe he was 5 years younger when he did Revenge of the Nerds, but since then he's been definitely since Babe. Gwen Stacy was, as a comic book fan, it was annoying that she was kind of wasted. It was such a weird thing. Like we talked about, it's like Mary Jane, the movie Mary Jane was already kind of a little bit of an amalgamation, to the point that they gave her like the black headband in the first movie, and put her on the bridge, and they did a lot of Gwen things with her. So to finally introduce Gwen at this point just as like not even like an obstacle to the relationship, really, because Peter's never really like tempted to go off with Gwen. It's just there to be like a problem. Just seemed like a stupid way to throw that character in all of a sudden.
I will say that the Goblin Jr. Peter fight that happens 10, 15 minutes into this movie is the best fight of the movie. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that the most. I thought it was, so much was put into this fight that supposedly, just the first throwaway fight of the movie. I was like, this is more entertaining than most of the other stuff. It's not to say I don't like the first Sandman Peter fight, and also the one where Peter grenades Harry's face is pretty cool.
Yep.
But this one is the most entertaining to me. Meteorite lands, symbiotes around. We already talked about the Sandman on the run, his origin scene. He returns home. His wife tells him to hit the bricks, to beat it. He thinks he can cure her. Aunt May says, put your wife before yourself, because she's a dingbat. Ben was a knockout in his bathing suit. Then we get the amnesia. And then we get Harry's line, "I'd give my life for them," which is like, boo, come on. Like,
I wonder if this is meaningful at all for later in the film.
Wonder if this will come back into play. Then
the amnesia thing is so silly, of course, as far as like
he remembers playing basketball with Peter. By the way, if we're talking about the Marty McFly chicken thing, it's like, when did these two ever play basketball? But also
it's like
when did
Oh, sorry, go for it.
No. When did also Harry write an entire play for Mary Jane? Like,
well, he wrote a play, but yeah, I think because initially the doctor basically says that his short-term memory was affected, which of course is supposed to be like, so he won't remember anything about his dad or Peter. But then he's like, seems to not even remember how rich he is.
He didn't know he had money. He's like, right, I live here.
This is a lot more severe than short-term memory.
But he remembered the play. He doesn't remember his play as basketball. But he remembered the play. Yeah. He rescues Gwen from this crane. We meet Eddie Brock, who shows up. We think at first he's Gwen's boyfriend because he tells Captain Stacy he is. Later, we find out he's a sociopath and is like delusional.
Yeah.
And then we also get, great to have J. Jonah Jameson back. Some funny stuff. The hip, it's now, it's wow and how. The blood pressure pills, the loud buzzer, J.K. Simmons is great.
And also I want to talk about Topher Grace because this has always been one aspect of the movie I'll sort of at least lightly defend, which is Topher Grace's casting and performance in the middle of a messy movie that he probably shouldn't have been in the first place because the director of the movie didn't even care about the character. But as someone who had read pretty much every Venom comic book appearance to that point, Eddie Brock was not like so interesting to me that I was angry that they changed up Eddie Brock. I actually thought the idea casting Topher Grace was sort of ingenious in that the first thing everyone said when Topher Grace was cast was, but he could play Peter Parker. And I'm like, but that's clearly the whole idea.
The point is that,
that is the point, because Eddie Brock in the comics was like this big muscle bound guy. And his only similarity to Peter was that they were both in journalism and he had this vendetta against him. But I was like, oh, this is something fun. This is a fun way to approach Eddie Brock, which is he's so much like the dark version of Peter. We're going to cast an actor that many people have fan cast as Peter Parker. When he was on that 70s show, so many people were like him and Laura Prepon or Peter and Mary Jane. So I thought that was fun casting. And I think Grace is having a lot of fun with this smarmy character. It still doesn't work because there's so much messiness going on with the conception of it all.
We get Bruce Campbell returning for his triumphant tour de force as snooty French waiter.
Like most of this series, his best part was in the second one
though. Who calls Peter Pecker. Good thing you don't call him Penis Pecker, because that would be like Flash Thompson did in Homecoming.
By the way,
it's funny.
All caps in my notes. Too much going on about halfway through.
I know, but again, so like. He literally does the upside down kiss. It's Peter's idea to do that too, by the way. She's not like, can I have a kiss? Does the upside down kiss, knowing Mary Jane's watching. And then he's like, I'm still going to propose to her. Everything's fine. And this dinner is where he's like really, really up his own ass and into himself and is really annoying. And I still laugh when Bruce Campbell is like, romance. I am French.
Yes.
It's really stupid, but it works. It's funny.
It's funny.
But yeah, now he's being a dick. She's being a dick. Everyone's just awful. And she rightfully calls him out. But then also the fact that like, he didn't, he's never mentioned Gwen for her. Not a great thing. Not a great sign. It doesn't mean that he's not in love with her and didn't want to marry MJ, but it's still sus, as the kids say. Then we get Peter right after Mary Jane walks out on him, learning the truth about how Uncle Ben died and that no one has told him. He gets upset. Now he's in a mental space where he's not even pining for MJ or looking to make up with her.
No.
And he's just listening to the police scanner. And this is when the symbiote strikes and sort of takes over him, makes him feel better, I guess, stronger, or it never introduces any full new powers, but it just makes him, it amplifies his vendetta and his feelings of anger toward Flint Marko to the point where he doesn't wind up doing it just by happenstance, but he actively goes out to kill Flint Marko. And he just didn't know Flint didn't even know that he could reform after becoming mud and washing away. But you mentioned it in passing, but I just also want to mention, of course, that the funny laziness of the fact that
the symbiote is always from space. In the original comics, it was when Spider-Man traveled to another galaxy with all these other superheroes in Secret Wars that he found the symbiote. Then the 1990s animated series I mentioned had John Jameson on a trip to space, bring it back on his ship, unbeknownst to him. This just does such a funny, lazy thing of Peter's in the park and a meteorite crashes near him. And
I mean, at least Dr. Connors is like, this is reminiscent of the meteorites from the 70s or something like that.
Right.
Like this is the thing that just happens on Earth. So he's got this black suit now. He's toying around with it. He has a subway fight with Sandman, washes him away. I will say that they do call back the slow-mo close-up goblin punch from the first movie, but this time it's Peter giving it to Sandman.
Right.
You see Sandman's cheek and the sand fly off, so kind of like the blood from the first movie. Then he's like he's snappy with Mr. Dickovich. Even Ursula is a little upset. She's like, that wasn't cool. And you know our feelings about Ursula, everyone.
I know.
Ursula is Endgame. The OTP of the series is Peter and Ursula.
I was very mad at Mr. Dickovich for being a jerk to her here.
The road not taken. Although Mr. Dickovich apparently got a free pizza out of that outburst from Peter. I was like, who owes who money here? He already owes you rent. He has to buy you pizza now. The funny thing is, yes, and then MJ gets a job at the Jazz Room because that's the next step after being on Broadway, I guess.
Then we have to talk about
before we get into the Mary Jane, you know, what happens? She goes to visit
the twist, Matt.
I know. I'm getting there. She goes to visit Harry.
Harry tells in the plot.
Harry tells Bernard to get some food ready. I would feel bad asking Bernard to do anything.
Is Bernard? I forgot to.
Is he 117 years old?
Who played Bernard? And was he just someone who won a contest? I know he's in all three movies.
Is it by the way? Is it like the young actress who played?
But it was fine.
Is it like the young fan who played like Luna Lovegood, who like gets fan casted?
She could act, and the thing is, it was fine with that Bernard. It was fine that he was a little clunky in the first two because he had just a couple of nothing lines, and then in this movie he's saddled with a thankless moment. But the fact that he can't actually deliver,
but like he actually has to be the one to convince Harry at the end with the power of his acting to help Peter and MJ survive their assault. Like
I watched the blooper reel this week, Matt. Would you be shocked to learn that there's a big chunk of the reel devoted to him not being able to deliver his lines in that moment and completely screwing up every time?
Now I feel so bad. Was he someone's dad? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm gonna look him up because I want to see was he like Oscar nominated in the 50s?
Oh my god! Is it someone that like from a Hitchcock film that Raimi liked? I don't know, but again, I'd feel so bad asking Bernard to do any physical feat, like lift food out of the fridge or even answer the door. So then they're cooking, they're dropping shit all over the place. Who cares? He's rich. It's just food. And the twist. Okay. It also, so Chubby Checker's The Twist. First of all, I should preface this by saying I cannot listen to that song, and we're going on more than 30 years now, I believe,
right?
Of me not being able to sing The Twist without saying Chubby Checker and the Fat Boys are doing their twist. It's stuck there. It is immovable. It is the immovable
there
object.
Was a rap version of this song in the 80s, everyone.
The Fat Boys, by the way, teamed with Chubby Checker for a rapping remix of The Twist.
Do you understand, guys? A man named Chubby teamed up with the Fat Boy.
No, but they didn't just stop there. They're not just stopping with fat artists. They also teamed with the Beach Boys for Wipeout.
That's
so
right.
They were going for like these, I don't know. Did they have a whole album where they just collaborated with 60s like musical icons and 50s icons? I don't know. But so regardless, even during this scene, I'm going, Chubby Checker and the Fat Boys. And they're dancing. And it's like, for some reason, the two movies before this, Raimi's like yesteryear nostalgia, old timiness of the 50s, like still worked and paired well with the rest of it. There is no reason MJ and Harry in 2007 are listening to a radio station that would actively play the twist and then get excited when the twist comes on. As if they're like teeny boppers from the 50s and it's the new dance sensation. And it's basically the twist is the archway into a full 20 minutes of bad elements of this movie, and the twist kind of kicks it off.
By the way, I looked up the actor who played Bernard is John Paxton, born in 1920, passed away 10 years ago, 2007 and 91. But here's the thing. Born in 1920, but only has 16 acting credits, which began in 1990. So he'd been around quite a while when he gets his first acting credit. Of those 16 credits, Matt, 5 of them are Sam Raimi movies. The 3 Spider-Man movies, A Simple Plan, and Oz. So he must have just been someone Raimi was like
what
in a David
was
Lynchian
before
way.
Simple Plan?
What did he do before Simple Plan?
Yeah, before his first Raimi movie.
No, his first is A Simple Plan, then the 3 Spider-Man movies, then Oz.
No. You said he had 16 credits, though.
Yes. Barbed Wire, Last Man Standing. These are just him grabbing some of these.
I'm just thinking like Raimi saw him in something or they met in some, I don't know.
Something. Raimi just must have been amused by him. And again, it's fine when he's just kind of there in the background, but unfortunately he's used for a very key moment. That is a bad moment that shouldn't be scripted into this movie, but yeah, it was a bad combination.
Yeah, because of all the things that would have convinced Harry to have a change of heart. So, all the knowledge that he already had should have done it already.
Right.
Not the fact that like, even if Peter did kill Goblin, it was because Goblin was a maniac. Right. So like, didn't matter that he learns that Peter wasn't directly responsible. He's like, and he actively did kill himself because I know horn wounds. I don't know. But, and then, at the end when Harry is actually killed, he's similar wounds to his dad, I guess they were trying to go for. Oh God, Chubby Checker and the Fat Boys. So
I remember this was a really weird opening night experience because the first 2 had been such joyous ones, and then you're watching this movie that thing where you're so psyched for a movie, and it's like it's hard because everyone is sitting there, and especially in LA where we have this like 1,000 people in an audience all cheering, but then it's not working, but it's hard to like, I don't know. And there was all these uncomfortable moments, and the twist was definitely very uncomfortable.
And so this leads to Harry snapping out of it, and then Harry deciding that he's going to threaten MJ and get her to break up with Peter, though that's never like fully explored, and we still don't know what he said to her, why she doesn't think Peter can't handle himself as Spider-Man. It's almost as if MJ forgot he's Spider-Man. She doesn't tell Peter that Harry's an evil goblin because Peter didn't tell MJ Harry's an evil goblin, so they're both keeping it a secret from each other.
Right.
It's stupid. Then right after Peter goes to Harry and says, MJ broke up with me. Harry's like, yeah, it's me. And literally he plays it off like real. He's like, I'm sorry. I was there for her. This sucks to tell you, you're my friend. And as soon as Peter leaves, he like winks and vanishes. And I was like, that was the plan, to make him think you were his friend briefly and then just reveal that you're actually back to your old goblin brain again.
Right.
Then, we get into a series of Peter giving in like a lot. He gets a lot of horrible news and it just makes him more and more upset. And the symbiote suit feeds off that. Now we get the fight where he, as far as we know, because we don't see Harry till later with a scarred face.
Did he kill him?
He killed him. He killed Harry. And then it goes into the silly stuff. Yeah. So he kills Harry, justifiably, I guess, because it's not full murder because Harry threw the grenade first. He just threw it back at him. It's a little reminiscent of his dad. He doesn't, it's more active, but not, similar. So as far as we know, Harry's dead. And now Peter's like finger gunning women, doing the silly dances. He purposely makes his hair like that. It's not like the hair becomes that. No. Peter looks in a reflection, is like, no, my hair goes like this now. But I want to ask you, and you think this makes any sense? The worst thing he does, obviously, and the worst scene in this entire movie is Peter and Gwen and MJ at the jazz club, and the fever and the piano playing and the dancing around, and it's all stupid. Yeah. The worst, I understand that the worst thing, aside from killing Harry, is accidentally hitting MJ, and that would make him be like, "Whoa, I got to rip this suit off." I get it. End with that, but you can't start with murdering Harry and then go into the silly montage of cookie eating and getting new clothes. And by the way, a lot of this seems like quote unquote dark Peter Parker is Peter Parker being confident and knowing his worth. Like, it's like, no, Jonah, I want the staff job because I deserve it. And you're going to give it to me, and like asking for what he wants for the first time in his goddamn life.
Right.
And that's supposed to be evil Peter Parker. If you ask Aunt May, that's evil Peter Parker, because Peter's not supposed to get what he wants or ask for it, because she's made that abundantly clear in 2 movies now.
There's so obviously this is insanity. This is of course become memed and parodied and by Spider-Man itself Into the Spider-Verse and the PlayStation game, both like having fun with this stuff.
Okay, sorry. My question, Eric, is then if they started, I'm not saying this solves anything in the movie in a major way, but if they started with the silly stuff, then went into the murdering Harry, then went into hitting MJ, like end with that instead of starting with that brutal fight. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
It would have played the silly stuff wouldn't have felt so dumb.
It should have been done in a different way, the escalation of it, for sure. I will say a couple things here about the conflicting nature of this movie and this part of the movie, which is that I still laugh, and I know I'm supposed to laugh at him strutting down the street and the finger guns. It's so silly, but I'll give McGuire credit for going for it. It's a funny, cheesy moment that is also like, what the fuck is going on? However, 2 things, which is that one is that the fever scene is just terrible. Like, it's not funny. It's just like cringe in a way.
It's awful. It's so bad.
It's so bad. Also, like you were saying, like, how there's one conflict already with this. Well, there's multiple conflicts with the symbiote, and the fact that it's like, it's making him evil, which also is signified by him standing up for himself. Also, I think it's very conflicted by the fact that in the strutting around scene, one funny thing is that, yes, and when some people defend this part of the movie, they're like, well, look at the girls, they're all cringing and being like, what the hell with this guy, which is true. However, Gwen, Betty, and Ursula seem to be into this Peter.
I'll tell you this, I saw
like they all seem to be into this douchebag Peter. So, what is even the message on that part of it?
I'll tell you this. First, he's single finger gunning, and the women are into that. Then he double finger guns, and they are not into that.
You never go double finger gun.
Go back and look, and when he double finger guns, that's when they're all sort of recoiling, and so they don't like it.
Single finger gunned Betty, Ursula. That sounds a lot.
Yeah, he's like, boo,
yeah. Betty, Ursula, and Gwen. But double, that would be.
Betty was way into it. Yeah. And he's like, Miss Grant, that's not the position I pay you for, or I hired you for, whatever. And I'm talking about sex
in the workplace.
God,
HR nightmare.
I don't even want to go into the jazz room scene with like, find us some shade or whatever, hot legs or sticks, or I don't know what he says.
And by the way, did the costume teach him piano?
That's the one new power. I'm wrong. I said it didn't give him any new abilities, but it did. It gave him the ability to be a douchey piano player. And yeah, also, if I went into MJ songs are terrible. Like if I went into a jazz club and some waitress got up and started singing Fever, I would also leave and jeer loudly, just like.
This movie is a mess.
Okay. Oh, God. It's so bad. Okay. Then, so now we get into the Venom part. The scene that we all enjoyed.
Oh, and by the way, the shot that was used in the trailers and one of the posters is a cool shot when he's with his head down in the rain in the black costume. It's just a cool visual. Raimi has cool visuals.
Let's see. The symbiote falls onto Eddie. as Eddie's praying for the death of Spider-Man. With the symbiote now, we I don't know if it's explicitly said, but I don't think it's actually explicitly said, but he has Peter's thoughts. So he knows MJ is who he needs to target. He knows
the comic books make that much more clear.
He knows Flint Marko it hates Spider-Man too, and that's why he's searching for him. So he knows things, and immediately the first thing he knows is Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah. We should mention also direct comic book reference scene pulled from the comics of him getting rid of the suit Peter with the church bells. It's from Web of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Web of Spider-Man #1. Venom 2 lightly referenced that as well.
Eric, did I spot Hal Fishman?
You did.
Los Angeles reporter Hal Fishman
died like 2 months after this movie came out. Yeah.
Yeah, but like as a New York reporter is what I'm saying.
Yes.
All right. Oh, I didn't know he died that quickly after this movie.
Yeah, like August of that year. Yeah.
No, this movie killed him, obviously. All right. MJ gets captured again.
Okay.
And then
like the fact that they went to that well again.
And well, I mean, look, if they hadn't done it in the second movie, I guess, the whole thing is like Goblin was like, attack is hot again. So whatever. But this time it's Venom. This time Venom and Sandman team up, and
somehow the symbiote is given Eddie fangs when he
that's the worst thing is all the scenes with Topher head on Venom body with sharp teeth is awful.
Yeah.
And I think he has a dumb line where he's like, I like being bad, it feels good, or something. I don't know. It's not great. The fights with Venom are underwhelming is a kind word, and very quick. Obviously, all of this is way too brief for this type of villain from a fan standpoint, at least. Or even any villain that would just come in the 11th hour and sort of show up like this. Sandman is given some cool effects because he gets to use the construction site sand to like turn into a giant monster. Then we get the team up. Finally, Bernard's wise words convince Harry to help Peter. They fight Sandman and Venom together. Harry takes a spear. Peter very quickly finds Venom's weakness and kills off Venom and Eddie, who leaves.
And we get a running commentary with Hal Fishman and that other live on the scene woman that doesn't work at all. The other movies, have these moments of like New Yorkers rising to help Peter. This seems to be like not the exact same thing, but a correlation because the city is unified in fearing for Spider-Man's life. But
they tried for it because when he swings in, they're all cheer him, and then he lands in front of the American flag, which in a weird like moment where it's like this has nothing to do with that, but okay.
Yeah. But here it undercuts all the drama because in the other scenes, it was the locals joining in, putting themselves in danger to stand up for him. Here, just cutting to them going, and the newscasters saying, oh, this could be the end of Spider-Man, just undercuts any tension that's happening in watching this fight, which isn't a lot of tension, mind you, but the attempt to have tension is undercut by cutting to the news stuff.
And after Harry gets mortally wounded, Venom's destroyed. Before Peter even runs down to a fallen Harry to watch him die, he gets the Flint Marko scene where Marko, after all this time, by the way, if it's to be believed, right, as an audience member, we think it went down the way Peter imagined it. Like, this is the dude that killed Uncle Ben, shot him dead in the street.
Right.
But we also have to sort of like, again, why this doesn't work either is like, we have to like balance that with the fact that all he cares about is his daughter in this movie. And that's something that we should also care about or are supposed to, but we have to, constantly faced with the counterpoint of like, oh, he's the Uncle Ben murderer. So it's not until the end of the movie that the real history is revealed, according to Flint Marko, of like, he was a good man. He tried to talk me out of it. I wish I could take it back. I didn't mean to shoot him, but I farted, or the guy hit me on the back. I don't know what I was doing. And then Peter forgives him at the end, and he just sort of like fades away. And we don't know if his daughter died or not. I have no idea.
Right.
What happened? He still needs money, as far as I know, in medicine. But I guess we can hope. And
he flies away.
Yeah, and then I guess we're to assume or believe that Peter and MJ reconcile, and had there been a fourth movie, maybe they would have been a more cohesive couple that we cared about and believed in, like the movies of that preceded this one, but it never happened.
It did not happen. This movie does not work. I know that I understand that things people grew up with as they get older, then there comes the point of like, hey, wait, how can you not like Spider-Man 3? I was 10 when I saw it and it was great. This is a bad movie. This doesn't, and great people made this movie. And I'm not saying every single moment of this movie is bad. There's of course some moments I like in this movie, but this movie doesn't work at all. It is, just nothing comes together. Too many plot. I'm not going to say too many characters because again, it's too many plot lines. That are just in conflict with each other.
Neither of us here in the year of our Lord 2021 can say this movie had too many characters after, given that we're such huge MCU marks.
Yeah, like Infinity War. Yeah. Like, come on. Yeah, of course not. But yeah, it's just.
Granted, there are movies preceding that set them up as characters so they could just enter the film as is, but still, like.
Yeah, but is this a movie? The problem of being like, this is a movie about Harry finally attacking Peter and then getting amnesia. And then will they work together? Will he forgive them? This is a movie about Sandman coming to be. But guess what? He was actually the one who killed Uncle Ben and revealing that. And then this is a movie about a black alien costume that Peter will corrupt Peter for a while until Peter gives it up. And then it becomes Venom. These are all plot lines that are in conflict with each other. And again, I made fun of this earlier, but the fact that the movie has to so messily have Venom.
This is the movie where
meet and go, let's team up right at the end.
This is the movie where Mary Jane learns that the entertainment industry sucks for the first time in her blessed career. And she can't deal with it. And this is the movie where Gwen Stacy has nothing to do and is in the movie for very little reason. Okay.
I also want to mention, though, so we should mention an interesting thing about this movie that I was looking up. Okay, so we should mention, this movie came out a year before Iron Man. So a year before the MCU is going to begin. And, definitely this and be this huge next shift in comic book movies and Marvel movies. Because Spider-Man had been so integral in the rise up of Spider-Man movies along with the X-Men movies, but this one even more so, they're bigger hits. But the main thing I want to mention is this movie is the biggest hit of the three Raimi movies, box office wise. The interesting thing about those three movies are they all made pretty similar. Like it's not like now where things can like jump so dramatically and a Fast and Furious movie can suddenly be making over $1 billion.
This movie all came close to $1 billion. Yeah.
It made almost 800 million. It was a huge hit.
894 million.
Oh, that's right. 894.
Almost 900 million.
So it was a big jump from two, although in America, it made the least of the three. But as the worldwide box office is growing, it's growing. All three of these movies unequivocally show how popular Spider-Man could be and was as a movie character. This movie was the biggest comic book movie ever when it came out. Now, that would fall just a year later with Dark Knight. But it really goes to show you, like, Spider-Man and delivering a version of Spider-Man that people are into. Because, again, one of the reasons this movie makes so much is because it's coming off Spider-Man 2. Even though Spider-Man 2 dropped from the first one a little bit, that was such a beloved movie. It makes sense that the next one, which looks cool in the ads, makes so much money. All of which is to say, it's so crazy to me that we didn't get a fourth one. I know Raimi ended up leaving because he wasn't happy. Obviously the third movie was so compromised already for him. They were developing the fourth one. It was going to be about Vulture and his daughter was going to be Felicia Hardy. He ends up dropping out eventually because he's having conflict with the studio. I'm still shocked they didn't get a new director and pay Toby a shitload of money to do it. When you look at how successful these movies were box office wise, it is surprising that they just were like reboot. Because even at the point Amazing Spider-Man 1 happened, they're making that movie before Avengers comes out. So no MCU movie has made more than Spider-Man 3 at that point. Obviously, Avengers will change all that, and then they'll have a bunch of billion-dollar movies.
Well, so if we're taking the DC and the Marvel, the two top tier players from each. Like you can make arguments about the major superheroes from each company, but Batman and Spider-Man, respectively, for each company. The biggest movies, the ones that have had multiple franchises with different actors playing the role and different directors and takes and so forth. So if we're looking at, do you think, obviously there's a dozen things wrong with this movie, and we just spent a long time going over them, but this movie also came a couple years after Batman Begins, which obviously didn't make as much money as this movie, but things happen throughout a decade, right? Like sentiments change, the entertainment we want changes, cultures change, pop culture changes, and we just got a very cool, awesome, grounded, serious Batman movie. And then you hit us with the same thing that maybe did work with 1 and 2, but the same tone for Spider-Man 3. I don't feel like audiences were even, even if this movie had been a better movie anyway, we're going to be as receptive, at least in America, to this after Batman Begins. I think it affected it, especially if we're talking about how much Dark Knight made right after this. So,
well, yeah, I don't think it's Batman Begins, but I do certainly a year later, summer 2008 is crazy because Dark Knight and Iron Man both come out. So it's like you have Dark Knight, just such a giant, massive hit. And then Iron Man, a big hit, which is about to start something that no one has ever seen on a franchise level in comic book world building in movies. So yeah, Spider-Man was going to always be this, the Raimi Spider-Man movies, or Sony in general, until they made a deal with Marvel Studios, this kind of weird outlier thing, doing their own thing. I still think it's surprising they didn't do a fourth one. But yes, of course, you are seeing very rapidly, we talked about how it had been a feast or famine because we had never gotten almost any Marvel movies prior to the 2000s. And then suddenly we got a bunch of them. And suddenly we got a shitload of them along with the Batman movies and where they're going and the DC stuff. So it definitely, we saw this escalation and things did start to evolve. And just like, I think what you're talking about is what people say to an extreme about the X-Men movies, which again, I'll always defend because yes, of course, if you made X-Men now, you wouldn't be so scared of the costumes and all these, they wouldn't make the same exact choices. But both X-Men and Spider-Man were done in the way they needed to be done at the time, and they were great. And I still think they're great, even as things have evolved since, because they will.
Yeah, it seemed like, and the ultimately the choice to reboot Spider-Man so soon after 3, like so soon after a very successful trilogy. Yeah. Instead of continuing it with 4, 4. Doing a 4th movie with Toby, a new director, maybe even other cast changes, who knows, is still less of a risk than a reboot.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they decided to go the way of the reboot. And then ultimately, in the end, it didn't pay out. But it all pays out in No Way Home, right? So it doesn't matter.
Right.
All right. That's it. I'm done talking about Tobey Maguire forever.
No, you're not, because
wait a minute. I would like to say the next time we do have a dip and a chance for a one-off, we should consider Roadhouse.
Oh,
that would just be a silly.
Yeah, I'm totally up for that. Yeah.
Given the news this week about a possible rehash of that. Okay. Next week is The Amazing Spider-Man, which is how many years later? How many paltry years later was this?
It's 2012, I believe.
Yeah. I remember, at the time, and people are going to remember this who listen to this podcast. Like it was like a confounding thing. Like what? Who? Why? A reboot so soon? Like it had never been done in this way.
Yeah.
And a whole new. And again, we joke now because it has been done quite a bit as far as because it all started with Batman 89, as far as the crime alley murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne
that we've seen 10,000 times now.
But if we so then we'll go from 89 to 2005 to when was Batman v Superman?
Batman v Superman is 2016.
I'm just saying there's 5 years. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's see, 2001 to 2012. I'm just saying We just need one more Uncle Ben death to get that to match the Crime Alley murders, right, on screen, I think.
Right.
Which is why we were so thankful they didn't do it for Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah. But
it's weird. It's weird times. What a world. What a clown.
What a world. What a spider world.
All right. Next week, Amazing Spider-Man. Until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.